Picture this. You've spent years building your American dream. You studied hard, passed your citizenship test, stood proudly at your naturalization ceremony, and held your U.S. passport for the very first time. You finally feel secure, settled, and protected. But what if I told you that under certain circumstances, that precious citizenship could actually be taken away? Before you panic, before you start worrying about every decision you've ever made, let me be absolutely clear about something. This video is not about spreading fear or creating anxiety. This is about giving you the truth, the real facts that every U.S. citizen, green card holder, and immigration applicant needs to understand. Because when you know the rules, when you understand how the system actually works, you stop being controlled by rumors and start feeling confident about your future. So stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to learn could be the most important immigration information you receive this year. Welcome back to Immigration Updates Hub, the channel where we break down complex immigration topics into clear, honest, and practical information you can actually use. Whether you're a U.S. citizen, a green card holder, someone waiting for approval, or just beginning your immigration journey, you're in the right place. I'm here to walk with you through every step of this process, to help you understand the policies that affect your life, and to give you the clarity you need to make confident decisions. Today, we're tackling one of the most anxiety-inducing topics in immigration. Can you really lose your United States citizenship? How does it actually happen? Who does it affect? And most importantly, what does it mean for you and your family? This isn't going to be a dramatic, fear-mongering session designed to keep you up at night. Instead, we're going to have a calm, thorough, honest conversation about the reality of citizenship loss, the extremely rare situations where it happens, and the immigration updates that are impacting thousands of families right now. Before we dive deep, I need you to understand something crucial. Nothing I share today is legal advice. I'm not a government official, I'm not an immigration attorney, and I don't speak for USCIS or any government agency. What I am is someone who is deeply passionate about helping people like you understand complicated immigration issues in simple, clear language, so you can navigate your journey without feeling lost, overwhelmed, or manipulated by sensational headlines. If you appreciate this kind of straightforward, honest immigration content, please subscribe to Immigration Updates Hub and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update that could impact your life or the lives of people you love. Now, let's get into the heart of what you need to know. Many people operate under the belief that once you become a United States citizen, your status is absolutely permanent and unchangeable forever. You receive your naturalization certificate, you get your shiny new American passport, you register to vote for the first time, you settle into your life in America, and you assume that nothing can ever touch that status. And honestly, for the overwhelming majority of people, that assumption is absolutely correct. U.S. citizenship is one of the strongest, most protected statuses anywhere in the world. It comes with incredible rights, powerful protections, and a level of security that billions of people can only dream about. But here's where we need to add some important context. While citizenship is incredibly powerful and secure, it's not entirely bulletproof under every single circumstance that could possibly exist. There are specific laws, clearly defined processes, and carefully managed legal systems that allow the government to review cases where something significant may not have been done correctly during the path to citizenship. Now, before your mind starts racing with worst-case scenarios and you begin questioning every form you ever filled out, let me emphasize something absolutely critical. The government is not actively hunting for ways to strip citizenship from hard-working, honest people who followed the rules and did everything right. That is not what happens in reality. What these laws actually mean is that citizenship is taken extremely seriously by the United States government. It's considered a sacred trust, an incredible privilege, and a solemn contract between an individual and the nation. Because citizenship means so much and comes with such powerful rights and protections, the path to obtaining it must be honest, transparent, and completely lawful from the very first step all the way through to that final oath ceremony where you pledge allegiance to the United States. When we talk about who can potentially lose citizenship and under what circumstances, we first need to understand the different ways people become American citizens in the first place. Some people are United States citizens by birth. They were born on American soil, in U.S. territories like Puerto Rico or Guam, or they were born outside the country, but had at least one American parent who was able to transmit citizenship to them automatically under the law. Other people become citizens through a process called naturalization. These are individuals who were not born as American citizens, but who immigrated to the United States legally, lived here as lawful permanent residents for the required period of time, demonstrated good moral character, passed English and civics examinations, and took the oath of allegiance to become naturalized citizens. Both groups, whether you're a born citizen or a naturalized citizen, hold the exact same citizenship status. Both enjoy the same constitutional rights and protections. Both can vote in elections, work anywhere in the country, travel freely with a U.S. passport, and live their lives as full Americans with all the privileges that entails. However, and this is important to understand, there is one significant difference in how the law views their immigration history and how their citizenship can potentially be affected. For people who were born as U.S. citizens, their status is extraordinarily secure and protected. In almost every conceivable situation, it cannot be taken away unless there was massive, deliberate fraud involving identity or birth records from the very beginning, and such cases are extremely rare, incredibly difficult to prove, and require extensive legal investigation and court processes. For naturalized citizens, there is a complete documented record of their entire immigration journey. There are applications they filled out with detailed information, interviews they attended where they answered questions under oath, background checks that were conducted by federal agencies, fingerprints that were taken and analyzed, and forms that were submitted with signatures attesting to the truth of the information provided. If at some point in the future, whether it's 5 years later, 10 years later, or even 20 or 30 years later, the government discovers credible evidence that something critical and material in that naturalization process was intentionally hidden, deliberately falsified, or willfully misrepresented, they have the legal authority under federal law to review the case again and potentially take action. But here's what is absolutely essential for you to understand, and I cannot stress this enough. This does not mean that small mistakes automatically result in citizenship being revoked. It does not mean that minor errors on forms will destroy your entire life and everything you've built. It does not mean that confusion about questions, language barriers that made understanding difficult, or honest misunderstandings will result in your citizenship being stripped away. The reviews and denaturalization proceedings that occasionally happen are almost always focused on intentional, deliberate, significant deception and fraud, not on innocent mistakes, genuine confusion, or honest errors made by people who were trying their best to navigate a complex system. So, as we continue through this discussion, I want you to keep one fundamental truth firmly in your mind. The overwhelming majority of naturalized citizens never face any citizenship problems whatsoever during their entire lives. The stories you sometimes hear about people losing citizenship, the dramatic headlines you see online, the cases that make the news, are almost always connected to serious fraud, major criminal deception, deliberate misrepresentation of critical facts, or choices that directly and clearly conflict with the oath of loyalty and allegiance to the United States that every naturalized citizen takes. Let's begin with the situation that actually surprises many people because it's not frightening, it's not dramatic, and it's not something that happens to you against your will. In fact, it's completely voluntary and requires your active participation and consent. The first real way someone can lose their United States citizenship is by personally and deliberately choosing to give it up. This formal legal process is called renunciation, and it is absolutely not something that happens casually, accidentally, or by surprise. You cannot lose your citizenship simply because you were frustrated with government policies one day and complained about America. You cannot lose it because you moved to another country for work opportunities or family reasons. You cannot lose it because you posted something emotional or angry on social media saying you don't want to be American anymore. Renunciation is a highly formal, heavily documented, carefully controlled legal process that must take place in person at a United States embassy or consulate that is located outside the United States. During this formal process, you meet face-to-face with a consular official who is specifically trained in handling renunciation cases. You complete detailed paperwork that clearly explains all the consequences of your decision and what you will lose. You sign multiple legal documents acknowledging that you understand the permanent nature of what you're doing, and you take a formal oath stating explicitly that you fully understand the implications of renunciation and that you are acting completely voluntarily, without any pressure, coercion, or influence from anyone else. There is also a substantial government fee that must be paid for processing the renunciation, which currently stands at over $2,000, making it one of the most expensive citizenship renunciation fees anywhere in the world. And once this entire formal process is complete and your renunciation is officially approved and processed by the State Department, it is absolutely and completely permanent. There is no undo button that you can press if you change your mind. There is no simple way to reverse the decision 6 months or a year later if your circumstances change. There is no magic procedure to get your citizenship back if you have regrets. People choose to renounce their American citizenship for various deeply personal reasons. Some individuals live permanently in another country, have fully integrated into that society, have established their entire lives there, and feel completely settled with no intention of ever returning to live in the United States. Others are trying to simplify extremely complex tax situations because the United States is one of the very few countries in the entire world that taxes its citizens on their worldwide income, regardless of where they actually live, work, or earn that income. And some wealthy individuals find this tax obligation and reporting burden too heavy or complicated to continue managing. Some people renounce for deeply personal reasons, political disagreements, philosophical differences, or identity considerations that are important to their sense of self. Whatever the specific motivation might be for any individual person, the absolutely critical detail that you must understand is that renunciation is always, without any exception, a personal decision made voluntarily by the individual. Nobody is forced into renouncing their citizenship. No government official can compel you to renounce. No employer can require it. No foreign country can demand it as a condition of living there. It happens only when someone specifically, deliberately, and voluntarily chooses to go through with the entire formal process. When someone successfully completes the renunciation process and gives up their U.S. citizenship, they immediately lose several important rights and privileges that they previously enjoyed. They lose the ability to vote in American elections at any level, federal, state, or local. They lose automatic entry into the United States and will need to apply for a visa if they ever want to visit America in the future. Just like any other foreign national, they can no longer work freely anywhere in the United States without going through the proper work authorization process. They cannot access government benefits that are reserved for U.S. citizens. Their children who are born after the renunciation is complete may not automatically receive U.S. citizenship, even if one parent was formerly American, and they lose the protection and assistance of the U.S. government when traveling abroad. For the vast majority of people watching this video right now, renunciation will never become part of their life story, or even cross their minds as something to consider. It is rare. It is intentional. It requires significant effort and money to complete, and it is heavily documented through official government channels. And I want to state this with absolute clarity so there is zero confusion or misunderstanding. Simply living abroad for extended periods, maintaining dual citizenship with another country, or staying overseas for many years does not automatically cause you to lose your American citizenship. Renunciation happens only when someone specifically and deliberately chooses to go through the formal process and completes every required step. Now we arrive at the situation that generates the most anxiety, fear, and concern among naturalized citizens. So I want to walk through this very slowly, very carefully, and with complete honesty about what actually happens. Yes, under certain specific circumstances, the United States government can remove citizenship from a naturalized citizen through a legal process. But this almost always happens for one primary fundamental reason: serious, intentional, deliberate fraud committed during the naturalization process. This legal process is officially called denaturalization, and it is critically important that you understand exactly what it means, who it actually affects, and how it works in reality rather than in rumors or fears. Denaturalization does not apply to everyone who ever made any mistake. It does not happen randomly to innocent people who followed the rules. It does not occur because someone accidentally forgot a specific date on a form they filled out years ago. It does not happen because English was your second language and the application process was difficult to understand. Denaturalization proceedings usually begin when the government discovers credible, verified evidence that a person intentionally and deliberately hid something major and material while applying for citizenship. something that would have affected the decision to approve their application if it had been known at the time. What kind of serious issues are we actually talking about here? We're talking about using a completely different identity or false name throughout the entire immigration process. We're talking about concealing a serious criminal past, particularly involvement in violent crimes, war crimes, human rights violations, genocide, or terrorist activities. We're talking about hiding membership in organizations that were explicitly prohibited by law, such as designated terrorist groups, Nazi organizations, or groups involved in persecution of others. We're talking about lying about fundamental events or circumstances that were absolutely central and critical to the approval of the citizenship application, such as fraudulent marriages that were entered into solely and exclusively for immigration benefits, with no genuine marital relationship. When credible evidence of this kind of serious intentional fraud is discovered by immigration authorities, it does not get handled quietly behind closed doors through secret proceedings that you never hear about. Instead, it becomes a formal legal process that takes place in federal court, with full due process protections guaranteed by the Constitution. The person who is accused of fraud has the legal right to be formally notified of all charges and allegations against them. They have the right to review all the evidence that the government plans to present. They have the right to respond with their own evidence, documents, and arguments. They have the right to be represented by an attorney who can defend them. They have the right to cross-examine witnesses. And nothing happens quickly, secretly, or overnight. There are multiple hearings. There is extensive presentation of evidence from both sides. There are detailed legal arguments, and ultimately, final decisions are made by federal judges based solely on the facts presented and the applicable law. I know this entire topic can sound absolutely terrifying, especially for people who went through the naturalization process many years ago, and now worry that something from their past might somehow come back to destroy everything they've built. But here is the truth that often gets completely lost in rumors, speculation, fear-mongering headlines, and sensational stories. The vast, overwhelming majority of naturalized citizens never experience denaturalization proceedings at any point in their entire lives, because the vast, overwhelming majority of people went through their immigration journey honestly, truthfully, and in good faith. Even if English was incredibly difficult for you, and you struggled to understand every single question perfectly, even if the paperwork seemed overwhelming and confusing, even if you made innocent mistakes because the immigration process is genuinely complicated, the focus in actual denaturalization cases is almost always on clear, deliberate, intentional deception and fraud, not on misunderstandings, confusion, language difficulties, or honest errors made by people who were genuinely trying to follow the rules and do everything correctly. Thank you so much for staying with me through this comprehensive and critically important discussion. This has been another in-depth immigration update from Immigration Updates Hub, and I truly hope that everything I've shared today has brought you clarity, understanding, confidence, and genuine peace of mind rather than fear, anxiety, or confusion. United States citizenship is powerful, meaningful, life-changing, and deeply protective. It opens doors that remain closed to billions of people around the world. It creates opportunities that transform lives and futures. It provides security, stability, and freedom that people risk everything to achieve. But citizenship also carries serious responsibilities, important obligations, and a legal framework that exists for very good reasons. Yes, there are real situations where someone can lose their United States citizenship. But as we've explored together in detail today, those situations are rare, very specific, carefully reviewed through proper legal channels, and almost always connected to clear intent, serious fraud, deliberate deception, or choices that directly and fundamentally conflict with the sacred oath of allegiance that every naturalized citizen takes when they become American. For the vast majority of people, those who followed the immigration rules honestly from the very beginning, told the complete truth throughout the entire process, took the oath with genuine sincerity and meaning, and built their American lives with integrity and good faith. Citizenship is secure, stable, and strongly protected by law. Awareness and understanding are vitally important and help you make informed decisions. But fear and panic are neither necessary nor helpful for people who did everything right. If you found today's video valuable, informative, helpful, or reassuring in any way, please take just a moment to give it a thumbs up. Share it with family members, friends, or anyone you know who might benefit from this honest information. And make sure you subscribe to Immigration Updates Hub if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest updates covering everything from visa applications and green card processing to citizenship questions, policy changes, and immigration news that could directly affect your journey or the journeys of people you care about. Drop your questions, share your experiences, or tell us your thoughts in the comment section below. I personally read every single comment, and your story, your question, or your experience might provide comfort, hope, guidance, or reassurance to someone else who is watching right now and experiencing the exact same worries, fears, and concerns you once felt. Remember, while we work hard to provide valuable, accurate, and detailed information here on Immigration Updates Hub, nothing in this video or any of our content should be considered personalized legal advice for your specific individual situation. Every immigration case is unique, different, and personal. If you are facing complex issues, have serious concerns about your citizenship status or immigration situation, or need specific guidance on a particular matter that affects you, please consult with a qualified, experienced, licensed immigration attorney who can review your particular circumstances in detail and provide professional legal advice specifically tailored to your unique needs and situation. Thank you so much for trusting Immigration Updates Hub with your time and attention today. I deeply appreciate your presence here, your engagement with this content, and your commitment to staying informed, educated, and prepared throughout your immigration journey. Stay hopeful about your future. Stay informed about the rules and processes. Stay patient with yourself and the system. And always remember that knowledge truly is power. Until next time, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and may your American dream continue to grow and flourish every single